You know, primates being what we are, and being very clever, sort of, at manipulating our own physiology to our own hedonistic and spiritual purposes, if you want to put it that way. We figured out that under certain circumstances, you can put monoamine oxidase inhibitors, like beta-carbolines, to good use. And this is where it becomes important, is with ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, as you all know probably, is a hallucinogenic or a psychedelic beverage. I guess the political correct term these days is entheogenic beverage that's used throughout the Amazon basin, and is really at the linchpin of Amazonian shamanism. And it's also become a popular religion in Brazil. There are various sort of syncretic religions loosely modeled on Christianity, but they have incorporated ayahuasca into their as their sacrament. So they're, you know, and that's what's shown here. One of the religions is called the UDV, or the União de Vegetal. It's a legally sanctioned religion in Brazil that uses ayahuasca about every 2 weeks as a sacrament. This shows the preparo. They serve ayahuasca in large temples, sometimes up to 5,000 people at a time. So they have to produce it on an industrial scale. And this just shows part of that process. They have, usually when they get going, they have many pots going, and it's, you know, it's quite a scene. And of course they have to monitor the quality control throughout the preparation of the sacrament. So by the time it's over, you know, the mestres are 3 sheets to the wind, you might say. Here's the basic botany of ayahuasca. It's always made from 2 plants. And the one on, your left is Banisteriopsis caapi. It's a liana, huge woody jungle vine that can sometimes weigh several tons, can be thousands of feet long. And the bark of Banisteriopsis is the source of the beta-carbolines, these monoamine oxidase inhibiting beta-carbolines. And so the bark of Banisteriopsis is mixed with the leaf of this plant here, Psychotria viridis, which is called, in the local vernacular, it's called chacruna. And Psychotria viridis contains the hallucinogen dimethyltryptamine, or DMT. Now, dimethyltryptamine, which is shown up there, is not orally active normally. You can eat a lot of pure dimethyltryptamine and nothing will happen, because the MAO in your gut inactivates the dimethyltryptamine. But if you mix it with a beta-carboline, it will inhibit the MAO, and it enables the DMT to cross the blood-brain barrier in an intact form. And so that reaction is then blocked, and the DMT is rendered orally active. So that is the sort of thumbnail sketch of the pharmacology of ayahuasca. DMT and other related tryptamines are not orally active usually, but in the presence of an MAO inhibitor, they can be activated orally, and it totally changes their pharmacokinetics. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the effects of smoked DMT, but it's very short. It's maybe 15 minutes in duration. So it's very short, it's very dramatic, and at the end of it, you sort of like, my God, what happened? You know, you can't really get that much out of it except you know that something profound happened. But with ayahuasca, that experience is stretched out for, you know, 4 to 6 hours. Now, it's not as intense as smoking DMT, but you can bring a lot more back. And if it's good brew, it can be very intense. So this is a way to orally activate DMT. Now, again, indigenous people being very clever, they didn't all go this route. There are other ways to get DMT into your system without invoking an MAO inhibitor. And that's basically by not taking it orally, as we know. You can smoke it and it's active, or you can make a snuff out of it, as these Yanomamo Indians have made a snuff from Varroa bark. So they get around this. They essentially don't go through the gut detoxification mechanism. They just snort it up, and it goes directly into the brain through the vasculature that in the nostrils that go directly into the forebrain. So that works too, you know, and it produces an experience that is a lot more like smoking DMT, much shorter, although probably a lot more unpleasant than smoking pure DMT, because you have to snort about 5 grams of this dried bark. You know, that could be a little hard on your nasal passages. I mean, I think cocaine was bad, but anyway. So that's one way to do it. And if you look at the ethnopharmacology of South American psychedelics, you know, there's ayahuasca, there's the Varroa snuffs, there's the Anadenanthera snuffs from another species of plant. You know, most of the major entheogens of South America are DMT based, either with or without monoamine oxidase inhibitors. So I think that's kind of interesting that, you know, cultures have rediscovered this independently.